Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are calling for DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to be forced out. On 60 Minutes, Senate Homeland Security
Imagine a peaceful city suddenly turning into a battlefield. Thousands of federal agents storm and raid arrests, even with gunshots ringing out. That's exactly what's happening in the Twin Cities, Minnesota since December 2025 with Operation Metro Surge. The campaign dubbed the largest immigration operation ever by the Trump administration. Over 3,000 people arrested, including dangerous criminals, but there are also suspicions of abuse of power violence and tragic incidents that have shocked the community. Behind it lies a welfare fraud network worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Your tax money may have ended up in criminals' hands. Or worse, is this protecting security or a political purge? Don't miss it, because the truth behind it might make you rethink everything. Hit play now to discover. In early December 2025, the Trump administration appears to have launched a major campaign called Operation Metro Surge right in the Twin Cities area. According to announcements from the Department of Homeland Security, the target is individuals with active deportation orders, especially those considered dangerous criminals. They stated that federal agents raided a villa in Los Angeles linked to a human trafficking network originating from Somalia, with potential amounts behind it reaching billions of dollars. Perhaps this is just a small part of a bigger picture, but it has opened a chain of prolonged and controversial events. The campaign began with close coordination between ICE, Border Patrol, and other federal agencies, with hundreds of agents mobilized from across the states. The first raids took place at night, with police sirens echoing through the quiet neighborhoods of Minneapolis and St. Paul, causing local residents to wake up in panic. Initial reports from the Department of Homeland Security emphasized that this was an effort to restore order, eliminate dangerous elements that had exploited sanctuary policies to hide. However, from the early days, there were voices of opposition from human rights organizations arguing that the campaign was discriminatory, targeting specific immigrant communities such as Somali and Latino. Then ICE announced that Operation Metro Surge had arrested over 400 people with serious criminal records in just the first few weeks. These individuals included gang members, sexual predators, and violent offenders who had been released thanks to local sanctuary policies. It sounds serious, but there are also opinions that this number has been inflated for political purposes. By January 2026, the figure had surged to over 3,000 arrests, with thousands of agents mobilized from everywhere, including Border Patrol and other units from the Department of Homeland Security. It seems we are witnessing the dismantling of every link in a ghostly global network, a billion-dollar criminal business empire built on blood and ultimate pain, stretching from the glitzy skyscrapers of Hong Kong to the quiet tree-lined streets of the American heartland. On some underground news channels, it said that this operation is exposing the horrific dark side of illegal massage circles, places that have turned your familiar safe neighborhood into a massive cash supply for shadowy bosses overseas. The thought that local residents' pocket money is nourishing a transnational criminal organization sends shivers down the spine. But what surprised everyone the most is, it seems this campaign has exposed something much bigger, an almost billion-dollar fraud empire possibly transferring millions abroad, even linked to terrorist networks. According to some sources, Minnesota has become the center of the largest welfare fraud cases in U.S. history, with estimated damages approaching billions of dollars in taxpayers' money. Programs for child welfare, housing, and health care have been systematically exploited. This discovery stemmed from initial investigations by the FBI and the Treasury Department, which had been tracking suspicious transactions for years. When Operation Metro Surge began, agents not only arrested people, but also collected evidence of complex financial networks involving hundreds of shell companies and fake invoices. This turned the campaign from just an immigration issue into a large-scale corruption hunt involving financial and tech experts to trace the money trail. More specifically, the Feeding Our Future case, the child nutrition program, appears to have been exploited to siphon off over $300 million intended for poor, hungry children. By the end of 2025, about 78 people were indicted, 57 convicted. One defendant named Abdeed Mohammed Noor was sentenced to 10 years in prison for stealing about $1 million earmarked for children. It's hard to believe that money meant to feed children ended up in criminals' pockets with accusations of creating shell companies and submitting fake invoices for millions of meals never served. This program was originally designed to provide meals for children in poor areas, but instead criminal groups set up numerous fake centers, claiming thousands of non-existent children and receiving government money. Investigators discovered that part of the money was used to buy luxury cars, real estate, and even transferred abroad through underground banking channels. The case sparked public outrage, with the local parents speaking out that real children were being neglected while their tax money was wasted. Moreover, the link to the immigrant community complicated the issue, as many defendants were of Somali origin, leading to racism accusations from immigrant rights organizations. They flew across the ocean with so much hope for an American dream, only to find the cage door slamming shut coldly the moment they set foot in a foreign land. The kidnappers, now revealed as brutal jailers, immediately announced that they were carrying a massive debt of $50,000 to $70,000 for the trip expenses. To pay off this unimaginable debt, they were forced to work grueling 20-hour days with no days off, no insurance, and no rights. They ate and slept on site on the very same massage beds used to serve customers in terrible sanitary conditions. Raids on companies like Ultimate Home Health Services often occurred with local police support, though not always smoothly. In a typical case, agents found piles of forged documents, computers with fake customer data, and even cash hidden in safes. These findings led to prolonged lawsuits, with defendants claiming they were only trying to help the community, but evidence showed an organized fraud system linked to international networks. This loss not only affected budgets, but also eroded public trust in welfare programs, leading many to question the effectiveness of local government management. Perhaps Minnesota became a hotspot due to the combination of sanctuary policies and lax management. Governor Tim Walz signed a law in 2023 allowing undocumented immigrants access to state-funded healthcare Minnesota driver's licenses and free college tuition. He also established the New Americans Office to support immigrant and refugee integration. Attorney General Keith Ellison issued a legal opinion that holding people per ICE detainer requests could be unconstitutional, making local agencies reluctant to cooperate for fear of lawsuits. These policies were designed to protect immigrants' rights, helping them integrate into society without fear of deportation for minor violations. The New Americans Office provides services like English classes, job support, and legal advice, but critics argue they created an environment encouraging system abuse. Ellison's legal opinion led to local jails refusing cooperation, not holding people per ICE detainers unless there was a court order. This complicated federal operations, forcing them to carry out arrests without local support, leading to increasing tensions between the two levels of government. The city of Minneapolis issued an ordinance prohibiting police from initiating stops or detentions based solely on ICE administrative warrants. This appears to be the reason the Department of Justice sued Minnesota Minneapolis-St. Paul and some officials in September 2025 for maintaining sanctuary policies obstructing federal immigration enforcement. These policies are said to have created a backdoor for criminals, though local sides affirm they still cooperate as necessary under state law. The Department of Justice lawsuit emphasized that sanctuary policies violate federal law, specifically Section 1373 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, requiring local cooperation with ICE Minnesota officials, countered that they are protecting residents' constitutional rights, avoiding discrimination based on immigration status. This legal dispute has dragged on through multiple court sessions, with both sides presenting extensive evidence and expert testimony. Meanwhile, on the streets of the Twin Cities, divisions are becoming clearer, with one side supporting tighter immigration to protect security and the other concerned about invasions of privacy and human rights. As Operation Metro Surge continued, resistance seemed to grow stronger. ICE agents faced violence from protesters trying to prevent arrests. An audio clip from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office showed an ICE supervisor calling for backup due to 60 to 70 opposing protesters. Some activists admitted to training people to intervene in federal operations, with sign-ups surging after Trump's comments on the Somali community. Protests lasted weeks, with accusations of agents using tear gas weapons and even leading to tragic incidents. These protests often started on social media, where activist groups spread information about upcoming raids, calling people to gather to protect the community. In some cases, protests led to physical clashes, with agents using crowd control measures, like tear gas or handcuffing overly aggressive individuals. Organizations like the ACLU documented dozens of alleged excessive force incidents, including pushing down elderly protesters or using police dogs to disperse crowds. These events were video recorded and widely shared, sparking international criticism of the Trump administration's handling. ICE reported that attacks targeting agents increased by about 1,153%, meaning 11 times higher than before. They called on sanctuary politicians, instigators, and the media to cool down and stop calling for violence. Meanwhile, arrests continued to be announced daily, with a worst of the worst list, including child sex offenders, robbers, and drug traffickers. ICE reports emphasize that the increase in violence was a direct result of calls from local politicians and media describing agents as an invasion force. In response, ICE enhanced training for agents on crowd control skills and used technology like body cameras to record every interaction. The criminal list released included details on each individual, with photos and criminal histories, to make the campaign transparent and gain public support. However, this also raised privacy concerns, as many had their information published without full trials. On the individual side, names mentioned include Abdul Qadir Sharif Abdi, former member of Gangster Disciples and Vice Lord Nation, with convictions for fraud, receiving stolen property, and car theft. Yet he remained free in Minneapolis because locals didn't cooperate with Ikai Sahal Osman Shadane, Somali national convicted of criminal sexual conduct with minors aged 13 to 15, served time then released instead of deported. Stories like Abdi's and Shadane's illustrate system failures, where serious criminals were released into the community due to lack of coordination between local and federal levels. Abdi had lived in Minneapolis for over a decade, involved in local gang activities, but his deportation order was ignored due to sanctuary policies. Similarly, Shadane reintegrated into the community after serving time working at a local store until Operation Metro Surge arrested him. These cases were used by ICE as examples to justify the campaign's need, but human rights advocates argued that many had reformed and deserved a second chance. Mukhtar Muhammad Ali has convictions for assault, fraud, robbery, theft. Ahmed Muhammad Saw was convicted of multiple crimes, including domestic violence, drunk driving, assault, property damage. And Vanilaut Kiyomi lived in Minneapolis since 2009 with a final deportation order, served 7 years for 2 assault charges in Ohio, but was released back to the community, living another 16 years with the deportation order ignored. Ali and Sa represent a group of repeat offenders with long histories of crimes from minor to major. The commanders knew they were not hunting isolated henchmen. They were on a mission to shatter a billion-dollar empire run on modern logistics and a sophisticated internal intelligence network. There was intelligence suggesting that smugglers moved women across the Canadian border to infiltrate the U.S., avoiding strict controls at airports. A leaked recording circulating online featured a voice saying coldly, I'm the pimp. You're my merchandise. I'll take you somewhere. You'll take orders and follow them. Don't ask questions. It seems all this points to a flawed system where policies protecting undocumented immigrants sometimes prioritize over public safety. Arrests not only targeted those with deportation orders, but expanded, leading to accusations of discrimination based on origin, especially against Somali and Latino communities. This system has existed for a long time, with conflicts between government levels leading to chaos. "8:03 in the morning. The name Hail Lima Ibrahim Guled appeared across multiple nodes, not just as director but as guarantor, financial signatory, a silent partner on accounts that never recorded payroll personnel or basic operating expenses. 6 daycare facilities, dozens of reimbursement filings, yet no consistent record of children ever attending. Still, the numbers climbed month after month. Federal analysts overlaid And now, according to some online community sources and press speculation, part of the welfare fraud money may have flowed to al-shabaab, the al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group in Somalia. There are allegations that through the Hawala network, money was transferred abroad and taxed by the group, though no direct evidence shows intent to fund terrorism. Many investigators believe most money went to personal, lavish lifestyles with no clear signs of terrorism links. But suspicions persist, making everything hotter with ongoing investigations from the Treasury Department and FBI. The Hawala network, an informal, trust-based money transfer system, was used to send millions from Minnesota to Somalia. Investigators track these transactions through bank data and international intelligence, but proving links to al-shabaab remains difficult due to lack of direct evidence. These suspicions have been exploited by media, creating national security fears, while security experts emphasize most money was used for personal purposes, like building homes or buying cars in Somalia. Meanwhile, the Trump administration emphasized putting Americans first, and Minnesota is learning that the free ride is over. The local side countersued, arguing it's an infringement on state powers under the 10th Amendment. Lawsuits drag on with Minnesota and cities demanding the campaign stop alleging unconstitutionality and abuse of power. The Trump administration, through spokespeople, affirmed that Operation Metro Surge is necessary to protect borders and domestic security, with President Trump frequently tweeting about the campaign's successes. On the Minnesota side, under Governor Walz's leadership, they filed a federal lawsuit arguing the campaign violates state rights in managing welfare and local law enforcement. These lawsuits could last years, with both sides hiring top lawyers to argue about the 10th Amendment, which protects state powers from federal infringement. While waiting, the campaign continues, though, with reduced intensity due to legal pressure. From Operation Metro Surge in the Twin Cities, we can draw an important lesson: when local and federal policies conflict, consequences often fall on the people themselves. From community security threatened by shielded criminals to hundreds of millions in tax dollars lost through welfare fraud. This reminds us that compassion and border protection are not always opposed, but without clear coordination, both can be exploited. One of the greatest and most profound lessons Operation Coast to Coast leaves us is never underestimate the seemingly ordinary small things right in your own neighborhood. A small massage parlor with a worn-out sign, a fancy name like Wellness Center with flickering green and red lights could completely be hiding a terrifyingly sophisticated human trafficking system inside with remote surveillance cameras and dozens of victims treated worse than animals. So we've gone through a dramatic journey in the Twin Cities, from ICE's lightning raids, hundreds of criminals arrested, to suspicions of a massive welfare fraud network, possibly hundreds of millions in taxpayer dollars vanished, even part reaching distant terrorist groups. Is this a turning point in restoring the rule of law, or just a highly controversial political purge? The truth is likely still unfolding day by day. This journey doesn't stop at Minnesota, but could set the stage for similar campaigns in other states like California or New York, where sanctuary policies are also strong. Analysts predict lawsuit outcomes will reshape federal-local relations for years to come. What do you think about this Operation Metro Surge? Do you support the Trump administration's tight immigration controls, or are you concerned about human rights and abuse of power? Leave your comments below right away. I'll read and reply to all. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next hot stories. Thanks for watching all the way here. This discussion could open new perspectives from economic to social, and hopefully encourage everyone to learn more deeply about immigration issues in America.